Gambling didn't just take my money, it started making everyday decisions for me. What restaurant I wanted to go to, whether I wanted to go outside, whether I could sit still without checking a game, whether I could actually be where I was without needing some kind of action going on in the background. There were times I was betting Chinese basketball on the train ride to work in the morning, checking lines during the day, planning out the rest of the slate by the afternoon, live betting at night, and then going to sleep with some random games, still deciding what kind of mood I was going to wake up in. That's when I should have known this wasn't just something I did, it was shaping my entire day. If you're new here, my name's Joe, and on this channel, I talk about gambling addiction, recovery, and what this actually looks like when it stops being fun and starts taking over your life. As I'm recording this, we just crossed 2 years without placing a bet. And if you want honest conversations about gambling addiction, sports betting, recovery, and rebuilding after this stuff, make sure you subscribe. Because this video is about something I didn't fully understand until I was way too deep in it. Gambling had stopped being something I did sometimes, it had become the structure of my entire day. And that's what made it so dangerous because it didn't happen all at once. It wasn't like I woke up one day and thought, wow, gambling just runs my life now. I mean, my mind was constantly circling it. What happened? What's on next? What can I still bet? What can I chase? What can I turn around? It's completely exhausting. And the scary part is when you live like that long enough, it actually starts to feel normal. You stop realizing how split your attention is. You stop realizing how much of your day is being filtered through gambling. You stop realizing you're not really present for your own life anymore. And that's what I think makes this so dangerous because gambling doesn't just show up in the bets. It starts showing up in ordinary decisions, regular life decisions, things that don't even seem like gambling on paper, like whether you want to go outside, whether you go on a walk, whether you want to go sit somewhere quiet, or what restaurant you want to go to that doesn't have TVs everywhere. For me, there were definitely times I didn't even want to go on those walks because if I was out walking, I wasn't in front of a screen. And part of me felt like I was missing something, like I'd missed some action. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's completely true. And there are absolutely times where I wanted to go to restaurants where I knew there would be TVs because if a game I cared about was on, that sounded way better than going somewhere where I'd have to sit there and actually just be present. That's how I know it had gotten bad. Because now I'm not just placing bets, I'm organizing ordinary life around whether I can keep one eye on a game. That's not just liking sports, that's not just being a fan, that is gambling quietly shaping how you move through the day. Where you go, what sounds appealing, what feels inconvenient, what feels relaxing, even what kind of plans you want to make. Because once gambling gets deep enough, anything that takes you too far away from action starts to feel annoying. Anything that takes your attention away from the slate starts to feel like interference. Anything that makes you be fully present can start to feel almost uncomfortable. And that's a really dark way to live. Because now the addiction is not just the moments where you're betting, it's in how you're choosing to live your day. That is a completely different level. And I think that's one of the biggest signs that something has really taken hold of you, when it starts making decisions for you without you even fully noticing. You think you're choosing freely, but really you're choosing based on proximity to gambling, proximity to your phone, proximity to games, or being able to check, refresh, watch, sweat out, or sneak away a game. That's not freedom, that's dependency. And the other reason gambling took over my day so quietly is because it always gave me something to focus on. There was always something to check, always another game, always some angle or another live market to find, always another reason to stay mentally plugged in. And if you're somebody who's anxious, restless, depressed, overwhelmed, or trying to escape your own mind, that constant stream of stimulation can start to feel like relief, but it's not. It's occupation, and there's a big difference between the two. Relief gives you peace. Occupation just keeps your brain busy enough that you don't have to feel what's underneath. And gambling was incredible at doing that. It gave me a way to not be where I was or not feel what I felt, not sit in my own life and not sit with myself. But that comes with a price because the more gambling fills every gap in your day, the less space you have left for real life or real thought or real peace or real connection to people, even for boredom. And boredom matters. Silence matters. Unstructured time matters. Because if you cannot sit in your own life without needing gambling to fill the gap, that's a problem. And I know for me, that was absolutely true. I had trained my brain to constantly want action, not just because I wanted to win, because I wanted stimulation. I wanted a constant stream of something to think about, watch, refresh, and feel, and gambling gave me that. until it didn't feel exciting anymore. Then it just felt absolutely necessary. And that's another sign it's taken over your day. When it stops feeling like something you choose and starts feeling like something you need in order to get through the day. Again, that's dark because then it's not really about fun anymore. It's about managing your state, trying to feel less empty or less restless, less anxious, maybe less trapped or less hopeless. And that's a lot of pressure to put on gambling because gambling can't actually give you what you need. It can only distract you from the fact that you need it. And that's why this gets so brutal. The thing you keep going to for relief is often the exact thing making your life harder. So not only is it taking over your day, it's also helping create the conditions that make you want to escape your day in the first place. And again, vicious cycle. And another way I knew it had taken over my day was how hard it became to give anything else my full attention. Because if I had bets going, good luck. If I was losing, good luck getting me to be present. If I was trying to chase, don't bother me. If I was waiting for a game to start, I'm not really there. Part of me was always elsewhere, always watching the clock, always checking my phone, always thinking about what the next bet was, trying to solve a problem. It's just exhausting. And I think people underestimate how much gambling addiction is an attention problem, not in the medical sense, but in the sense that it hijacks where your mind goes. It trains you to constantly look outward for the next hit of stimulation, the next shift in momentum, the next chance to feel something different. And when your attention is always being dragged somewhere else, your life starts slipping by you. And that's one of the saddest parts about all of this. You don't just lose your money, you lose days, you lose moments, you lose presence, you lose pieces of your actual life because you're physically there, but mentally gone. And by the time I really understood that, there was already a lot of damage done because gambling had become part of the structure of my life, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, behaviorally. It had become part of how I woke up, how I coped, how I'd avoid things, how I stayed stimulated, and really how I escaped. And once something is woven that deeply into your day, stopping it feels impossible. Because now you're not just removing bets, you're removing an entire pattern and routine and mental system and the way that your brain has learned to move throughout the day. That's why recovery can feel so weird at first, because when you stop gambling, there's suddenly all this space. And if you spent a long time filling every gap with gambling, that space can feel really uncomfortable, really quiet, really empty, and slow. But that doesn't mean gambling was helping you. It means your brain got used to chaos, and that takes time to undo. I think that's one of the most important points in all of this. Just because something feels normal doesn't mean it's healthy. Just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it belongs in your life. Just because it fits neatly into your routine doesn't mean it isn't destroying you. A lot of addictions survive because they get normalized, and gambling is especially good at that because it can blend into sports, it can blend into your phone, it can blend into your downtime, it can blend into your entire personality. It'll blend into your daily habits in a way that doesn't always look dramatic from the outside, but on the inside, it can be eating up your entire day. And once it starts taking your days, then it starts taking your life. And that's the progression. That's why the title of this video matters to me, because gambling took over my day before I fully realized what was happening. And by the time I could clearly see how much of my day revolved around it, it had already taken over a lot more than that. It took my attention and peace, emotional stability, my ability to be present, my ability to just live without constantly looking for action. And I think that's a question worth asking yourself honestly if you're watching this and you relate to any of it. How much of your day does gambling touch? How often do you think about it? How often do you check lines? How often does it shift your mood? How often does it pull your attention away from real life? How often is it the thing your brain reaches for first? Because those questions matter a lot. Sometimes the issue is that gambling has become the structure of your day. And if it's structuring your day, it's probably structuring more of your life than you want to admit. Again, I just passed 2 years without placing a bet, and I can tell you one of the best parts of recovery is that my day actually belongs to me again. It's not perfect, it's not magical, not because life is just easy right now or there's no hard days or that the consequences just disappeared, but because my brain's not waking up looking for action. My commute to work isn't about finding something to bet on. My Monday's not split between real life and whatever game I'm sweating out. My nights aren't endless checking, refreshing, waiting, and that's a better life. Yeah, it's quieter, but it's more present and more honest. So if you're watching this, I just want you to sit with this question honestly. Has gambling quietly taken over your day? Not just your money, not just your weekends, not just game days, your actual day, like your mornings, your routines, your decisions, your attention. Because if it has, that's not a small thing. That's a huge warning sign. If this video hit home for you, make sure you subscribe because I make videos every week about gambling addiction, recovery, and trying to rebuild after all of this. And let me know in the comments, when did you realize gambling had started taking over your day?